Now recording.
Okay, Andy and Nate are not here yet, so I will go ahead and show everyone what is for lunch today. Hopefully this recording goes a lot smoother because I am doing it completely from my laptop with a new recording software. What is for lunch today is the Redemption Burger. It is a recipe by Chef David Blaine. Yes, there's also a Chef David Blaine, not the street magician. Suppose I need to share and show the video. Dang, bro, I need to. Oh, who just joined in? Hi, Nate. Hold on. Let me. And did Andy just join in? Awesome. Welcome in, Andy. Give me just a moment. I'm trying to find where I put Discord. Oh, there it is. So I'm now actually recording the screen entirely from my laptop with a new screen capture software. So we'll see how this goes. If it fucks up, then we'll just do gameplay footage. But Nate, go ahead and do the intro. It's 70.
Yeah, I remembered, luckily. Hello, pebbles across all platforms. Welcome to the Idiots Podcast, episode 70. Another milestone. Yay.
Yep. I couldn't hear what you said before. What'd you say before?
That I remembered.
Okay, good. So, you'll see it in food, but today's lunch is a Redemption Burger, a recipe by Chef David Blaine. And no, not the street magician.
What burger?
Redemption Burger.
How is it?
He called it a Redemption Burger because basically it was on Gordon Ramsay's show Kitchen Nightmares, and this chef was forced into making really bad burger recipes, and he's like, this is not a reflection of my talents, and he wanted to show Gordon that, and he did, and Gordon gave the burger a 9 out of 10, so it's like, yeah, when Gordon Ramsay gives your burger a 9 out of 10, that's a fucking good burger. And it is delicious, my love. Messy, but delicious. And those are tater tots on the side. Okay, so today's topic of discussion is basically some of the worst times we were sick. Now, the last time I was sick, I actually got COVID-19. That's literally the last time I can remember I was actually like physically sick, if you don't count any bad bouts of allergies. And I can't tell if the vaccination helped or not, but the worst it was for me was a case of the sniffles. It lasted about a week, and then had to clear out the rest throughout the following 2 weeks, and that was about it. But I imagine we've all pretty much probably gotten COVID-19 by this point, considering how virulent the disease is, right?
I had it twice, I think. Once I didn't even notice, and the other times, yeah, I like, it was basically, yeah, like the common cold for me.
Yeah, it's so contagious by this point, it can practically be harmless sometimes. Andy, have you gotten it yet?
No.
You actually have not gotten COVID-19 yet?
No.
I guess are you just not around enough people to get it?
Not exactly that. But it's probably best if I don't answer that question. That'll head into a whole nother discussion. So let's just get let's keep it on topic.
All right, no problem. But yeah, like it became so contagious. It's practically harmless by this point. But if I had to recall the worst time I was ever sick, like the sickest sick I've ever been, was when I was like 10. I got a really bad case of like a feverish flu. And like I remember I was sick for like 2 weeks. It was pretty bad. And my fever was so bad, I actually legit hallucinated. No joke, I actually hallucinated. I saw a penguin jumping into our pool in the backyard. I'm like, what? And so I went outside, and naturally it was gone because it was kind of cold outside, and so that managed to bring my fever down a little bit.
Okay.
And so I'm like, what? What just happened? So then my mom came home and was like, David, what are you doing out of your bed? Get back in bed. It was actually pretty funny. But Morocco, stop. So Nate, what's the worst sick you've ever been?
I actually have like two experiences that are kind of on the same level. I'll go with the older one first. During my my late childhood, early teens, I just had like sort of sensitive the digestion tract. So yeah, I was kind of like suspectable. Is that the right word?
Susceptible?
Yeah, I guess that too, like, to having just, problems, like, I mean, vomiting, diarrhea, and just everything. And one time we were at a, with mother and her friend and her daughter and one other friend. We were at well, okay, it had camp in the name, but they were just, like like normal cabins. It had a pool, and it was in a really pretty like glade, I would say. However, I ate like an entire packet of crackers, and apparently my stomach didn't like that because I wake up like, I don't know, before dawn, and I just I felt really sick, so I rushed to the toilet, which were actually no, I think. Okay, now I can't remember if the bathing areas, like, because it was just like the showers, they were like separated from the cabins, but I can't remember if there were also toilets or if the cabin had at least toilets. Point is, I just, went to vomit. It was gross. It was a lot. And, it didn't stop. So I, after like an hour, I wake up again, I go again, and that's actually when I realized when it's sunrise, the like the rays, the golden glow, it goes from top down. That was the moment it clicked for me. However, yeah, this little, well, just what I thought will be just like, okay, this is the second puke, now it's gonna fucking calm down. No. Basically the rest of the vacation was just spent in bed having having like the most basic meals. Okay, yeah, I got off like okay, not all in bed. I was in the pool a few more times, and but my meals, they were sucked. And what sucked even more was the cure. Cure in huge quotation marks, because that shit was so gross. It took like, it had to be made in tea, like strong fruit tea, and I had to drink another mug of tea to even, like, pass it down. It's called smecta, And I don't know if
So-
you have it, but it like.
It was like a gross tea you had to
No,
drink.
no, it's a powder, and you're supposed to mix the powder into something.
Oh,
And before that, I also had to swallow, or after that, just one other thing that was also really gross and like, save me.
so you had to gulp down a really gross, basically potion
Yeah, and
practically.
I don't know if even if it really helped, or if just like my system calmed down on its own. But bruh,
Damn.
yeah.
I think the worst stomach bug I ever had actually was relatively recently. I think, my love, you remember when I had it? That basically like sonic diarrhea I had that was so bad I had to take Imodium. Remember that when we were? I think it was when we were dating. Yeah, I was. I think I actually, no joke, actually shat so hard, like it came out black, and I was worried I was gonna have to go to the doctor. um, luckily though, the Imodium helped, after a few days, but it was pretty bad.
Lucky. Yeah.
I was a bit worried. Yeah, and I hydrated as well, but ooh-wee, it was bad.
I believe so.
Yeah. That was probably the worst, like, sort of stomach bug I've ever had. Nate, did you have another sick story, I think you said? Then
It
do
was
tell.
actually like during the COVID times. However,
Uh-huh.
I'm like 99% sure it wasn't COVID because I was tested like a few days ago and like, I tested negative. So, but
Mm-hmm.
like, it lasted only 1 day, I think, or maybe 2. But suddenly I just like feel like this. Well, it was definitely a fever because like I felt both hot and cold at the same time, and I was just
Yeah.
out of it. My body was like the most on autopilot it has ever been. I don't remember like anything from that, like it is those 2 days. The only thing that I remember is that I just zombied into the bathroom, filled up the bathtub. I don't even know what the temperature of the water was, and I just sunk in and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just plopped and was dead for a while. I drank a bit of like like a little straight from the tap because yeah, it's like it was smart to hydrate myself, and just I think I also made
Sometimes you just do be that thirsty.
I made no, it was just my freaking what was normal, but yeah, and I think I also made tea after that. I hope, but yeah, it was just like I don't know. I'm so lucky that it was just like 1 day thing with like another day of recovery because again I have no idea what it was. It was kind of like scary when I think of it back then. Just this fever zombie. Yeah.
Right.
And again, I didn't have any other
Um,
symptom like just like being on autopilot and my body feeling both hot and cold.
now, there was a time during COVID where initially I thought I had it, but it turns out I step outside and, like, the atmosphere is practically yellow with pollen. And it's like, what the fuck? Are we in a pollen cloud? And yeah, it just turns out my allergies were basically saying, no, you won't either go outside today.
Yeah.
And I practically couldn't breathe. It was just clogging up my nose so badly, you know?
Yep.
That's how bad, like, there are these, I guess, like, oak tree blooms in Texas, to where, like, I've seen it in Austin, where, like, people's entire cars are just covered in pollen. I think, hell, I could probably look up pictures. I will do that now and put it in other pictures.
The worst, we get, usually, from what I've seen, is, I think, willow pollen. And you can see that, on the edges of puddles. And yes, sometimes on cars also, on the edges of, where droplets were. So, yeah.
It's practically a meme now, but I'm going to put it in, so I'm going to put it in memes.
Memes.
Hang on.
Chica.
I just put it in memes.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how bad it can get in Austin. I actually, believe it or not, I was in an anti-bullying film about 12 years ago, and it was in San Antonio, so you passed through Austin. It was over the summer, and again, I'm stopping by somewhere in Austin. I just see cars just covered in that stuff. I'm like, my God. But Andy, do you have a time you can recall when you were super sick?
Not really. I don't really get sick that often.
Wow, lucky.
Really? Yeah, you're kind of lucky in that way. But what about broken bones or just any kind of hospital?
Oh, no. I've never really had bones or that.
Damn, super lucky.
And I tend to stay away from hospitals.
And that makes us... Yeah, that's good. Well, wait, you stay away from hospitals?
Yeah.
Yeah, or just try to?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, no one wants to stay in a hospital these days. But it is interesting. My brother, he clearly doesn't seem to mind hospitals because... Morocco, will you stop? Because right now he has a rod in his leg, and his collarbone is in pieces. Yeah, he likes to do stupid stunts. He got the rod in his leg by going mountain biking, and it was one of his few times mountain biking, and he decides he's already a pro and decides to take a jump.
Okay, youch.
Yeah. Yeah, big youch. And so now, to this day, I think that was I'd say 8 years ago, and he still has the rod in his leg. And then, even with the rod in his leg, he decides to take a snowboarding jump because he also seems to think he's a pro snowboarder and tries to do a midair flip. Naturally, he doesn't make it and lands flat on his face on the mountain.
Ow.
And yeah, his collarbone ended up in pieces. He described it as where bones should be, you just felt this squishing pain.
Oh. Okay. I have no idea which collarbone it was, but my left one just hurt a little bit. Describing that.
Yeah, it does make you hurt hearing it.
Actually,
that's also an interesting sort of sensation, phantom limb syndrome, and also phantom pain syndrome, where you hear how painful something is, and you hurt in the same area, even though you've probably never been hurt in that area. Well, yeah, have you guys heard about phantom limbs syndrome?
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So Nate, what phantom limb syndrome is for amputees.
Oh.
And out of nowhere, they'll feel their limb again.
Right.
It's like they feel like it's still there. And interestingly enough, there is a Venture Bros villain called Phantom Limb. Andy, have you watched any of the Venture Bros?
Never heard of it.
Oh, it's awesome. It's basically a parody of Hanna-Barbera and Marvel and DC comics at the same time. But Here, I'll put him in the. I'll put a few of his pictures in other pictures. But Phantom Limb is actually a pretty cool villain. Basically, he has what he calls electro-palpable limbs, which are real limbs. They're there, but most of the time you can't see them. But whenever he does touch you, they glow and they can stun or even kill you.
Okay.
Yeah, I just put him in other pictures.
SMH, nobody reacted to my pick. Sick.
Your pick? What pick did you put? Where'd you put it?
In other pictures, right above you.
Oh, you're Oh, you got the box set for Broly movie and Resurrection of Frieza.
Box sets. Those are just separate DVDs.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought like you were showing off a box set or something.
Nevada ordered and paid for both of those. Yay.
Oh, okay. Though now that there's 4 of them, I wouldn't be surprised if one day there is a box set
4
with special features and everything. I think they did used to sell box sets of like the first 13 DBZ movies. Let me see.
But yeah.
DBZ movie set. Yeah, they sell box sets of those. Here, I'll put it.
The only next.
Yeah,
the only next physical media
huh?
I'm like interested in getting is Superhero and Daima.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the movie 1 through 13 box set. Which of course they have Goku and Super Saiyan 3 doing the Dragon Fist as the pose. What I don't get is why Goku does not use Dragon Fist more often. Because that seems like a really elite move.
I don't know, isn't it considered non-canon because it's a movie move? So I don't know.
That is another question. He uses it in Dragon Ball GT.
That's a separate, universe, whatever.
On his wife.
Oh my god, no.
What?
Dragon Fist is not a canon move.
Yeah, technically it's not canon.
Whatever.
Only in the bedroom.
He's fisting Omega Shenron.
The closest you have to is the original Dragon Ball Goku using the similar move on King Piccolo.
Yeah, the Uzaru Fist, but that's a different move. That was basically an improvised punch, basically. But to get back on topic, my love, you have the 6th story to end all 6 stories when you had pneumonia. You want to tell them about when you had pneumonia?
I had pneumonia for a full year. I don't even remember turning 15.
Right, but describe your experience during it.
I was out of it. I mean,
you had lucid intervals, though, right?
not really.
No?
No.
I thought your mom woke you up like a few times.
That's what she told me.
Oh, but you weren't conscious during it.
No, like I said, I don't remember turning 15.
Right.
I pretty much was in this drugged out state because I was so sick.
Yeah.
And it kept moving. So it started in my left lung, then to my right, and then both lungs. Back to my left, both lungs. And finally was my left lung, and it finally healed. But it took a full year to do.
Yeah.
And my mom said that I was basically on the couch the entire time, coughing, and especially if I didn't take my medicine, it was like I was choking. Because basically you're just drowning in water. That's how pneumonia works. It's your lungs filled with fluid.
Yeah.
So she said that she would come up and go, "Are you hungry at all?" And it was like, I didn't comprehend until 2 minutes later and go, "No."
Yeah, but then you go right back to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez.
I mean, that's a scary thing to, you're going, man, what is wrong with me? I just feel so sick and weak. Go to the doctor.
Yeah.
You see all this white stuff in her lungs?
Uh-oh.
Going
White
to
stuff?
Doctor.
Oh, Andy, no. Bad.
Dude, that's kind of like child pornography. Shame on you.
Yeah. She was 15, bro.
Oh, okay, my bad. I thought you were talking about something recent.
I was 14.
No.
No.
You're not listening,
14.
SMH.
And going to and from the doctor going, why is she getting worse? She's not getting any better. Oh, well, try this medication. Do this, do that. You know, it's like having a veil on your eyes and your ears plugged. And you're just in darkness the entire time.
Yeah.
With very few senses. And you're like 14 before Christmas, and then, or sorry, 14 after Christmas, and all of a sudden you're 15 by Thanksgiving, and you're like, oh wow, that was like a weird nap. You've been pretty much in a coma for an entire year. What? Wait, you couldn't celebrate your birthday?
Yeah.
Oh.
I guess that does bring up another interesting sort of proposition. You know, it's like sort of a how do you react if you were to wake up from a coma, you know, and how much had changed? You know, like if I went into a coma at 24, then woke up now, I would probably be pretty shocked at all the changes. You know, because it was 2015, and I wake up and I'm like, wait, who all has died? What's happened here? That would be pretty crazy. And of course, there's also the possibility of living out entire lifetimes inside coma dreams. Have you guys heard about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, how many lifetimes do people live out inside coma dreams, and then you wake up and go, I remember some of these coma dreams. You were there, and you were there, and you were there. Though, most people report not remembering everything in their coma dreams. Probably because, yeah, their mind wanders so much that it's, like, very difficult to remember. Similar to how, you know, if you are deeply dreaming, you really aren't going to remember much, to be honest.
What?
Because of...
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes the dreams that you can remember, they're really more or less sort of a first level of dreaming. You're actually almost awake when you're having dreams that you can remember. Most of the time when you're asleep, if you don't remember what you dreamed about, and it's typically because you're very deeply asleep.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, your mind is still dreaming. You just don't remember, because more than likely your mind is probably having such vivid, intense dreams that it's just too much to process at once, so your mind just says, and just kind of passes on, and then you wake up. Not passes on, but just like... No, that was the wrong word.
Oh, well, happens.
Oh god, we're gonna die!
But I've had like a few like real like I remember having like like a dream and then like waking up right after and just being like, hey, I gotta write that down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I also have an injury story. Normal.
Morocco, you stop. But we know that Morocco dreams, just like him and Ringo both, they yip in their sleep. So they're dreaming about something. I imagine he dreams about us coming home every day and then never leaving. Because he never wants us to leave.
When guinea pigs dream, like their eyes and ears twitch. So yeah.
So they do sleep weaking?
I've never heard, and it's no. I don't think that guinea pigs are known to make sounds in their sleep other than snoring or farting.
But you can tell they're dreaming because their ears are twitching and their eyes kind of rumble.
Eyes, ears, whiskers, and yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cute.
Probably dreaming about vegging and peeing on stuff and climbing.
Yep. But in terms of like sick stories, did you have any others, Nate?
Yeah, and I actually it's another related to a stomach problem because and I was actually even younger. I was like 7, maybe.
Do go on.
And yeah, it was actually I think the worst of the worst, like stomach problem issues because I actually was in a hospital for that. So yeah, I just like one night. I have zero idea what we did before, what we ate before, but yeah, I just like I go. I was already feeling like pretty out of it, so I go like to my parents' bedroom. This was obviously I still lived with them. Yeah, to like to sleep with them if anything like happens. And yeah, and then I don't know. Father was already up or something, and as well. And I say just like Dad, I feel weird, and I don't know if it was some kind of instinct, but he just like grabs me and rushes to the bathroom. But I'm already puking on his shoulder. Luckily, the rest ends up where it's supposed to be, and yeah, that it's not getting. I don't know if I kept vomiting or something, but yeah, just we. And the next moment from my life I can remember is them like sticking the doctor sticking the IVs into me and putting some sticky sensors on my torso. And yeah,
I see.
I have no idea how many days I spent in the hospital. I was in a pretty like large, quite but still quite cozy room with like 5 other people. I think the oldest one was like 13 there. And yeah, I don't remember what much else. I think I drew something once, and yeah. And shoot,
What's interesting?
one of my like, heck, uh, one of the people I knew at the time actually like stopped by and brought snacks, but I'm not sure. Like donut. Like it was definitely one donut that I remember,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure if I could even eat them at that time, or maybe with like very small in like very small bits. So yeah,
Hmm.
hospital.
Um, I think the only time I was probably ever hospitalized, well, I know the last time I went to a hospital for someone was my mom, and I was worried sick about her. Turns out, yeah, from having C-sections with me and my brother, and then on top of this, other intestinal issues she had to remove like some polyps. Apparently, this causes what's called intestinal adhesions, and it's where your intestine lines accidentally fuse together. And so she had to go get
Wait,
those removed.
what fuses
And
together?
your intestinal walls, they fuse together.
What? In which
Like,
way?
you know how your intestines are like kind of stacked on top of each other?
Yeah. Oh, so you mean the outer walls?
Yeah, the outer walls fuse
Oh,
together.
okay.
Yeah, and so she had to have surgery to have those cut apart.
Stone.
Like,
Sorry to
yeah, what's
interrupt,
up?
but I've actually got to get going.
All right.
All right, later, Andy. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah,
while you
no
could.
problem. Sorry I couldn't contribute much.
It's okay. We'll come up with other topics. So that's the whole
Yeah.
point. We'll always try to come up with topics to have everyone contribute.
All right, see you later, guys.
Bye.
Later. But yeah, she was on the table for upwards of 5 hours for them to get all the adhesions, and it was scary, needless to say. And then, of course, there was, 2 years ago now, Ringo for his tooth surgery that we thought was going to save his life. Sadly, it didn't. But I think he was on the table for upwards of, I think, 8 hours almost. We took him in at 9, and we didn't bring him home until 4. And we were terrified because he actually flatlined during that, and they had to use adrenaline to, get his heart going again. And I was terrified for him, And yeah, it is sad that only got us 6 more months with him instead of 6 years. We wanted more time with him, for sure.
Baby. He changed, baby.
It's just sad that he drew the shortest of genetic short sticks it's possible to get, and the teeth were the least of his problems. It was actually lymphoma, and that can accelerate really fast. And I can't imagine, parents who have children who contract lymphoma, and they have to, and there is nothing that they can do. They can try to put that kid through chemo, but that is still a very fast progressing cancer. And it is probably harrowing to watch as your child just wastes away,
Yep.
And yeah, frankly, the hardest truth I had to swallow was when we got Morocco and I took him into the vet for his vaccinations and everything. I had to talk with the vet about, possibly getting organic food for him. Things that might prevent cancer in the future, And the doctor is like, well, there's not really a lot of ways to prevent it in dogs. It's like a lot of people want to blame cheap food, but at the end of the day, cheap food only exacerbates issues that are already there. Because a lot of people get these purebred dogs whose parents were
sisters and whatevers and cousins and whatever.
Yeah, and that is going to lead to health problems no matter what. And so he told me the hard truth. It's like, okay, so Ringo was a Chinese crested Schnauzer mix, and you have no idea what his parentage was. So it's like, for all you knew, his parents were brother and sister, or first cousins. And on top of this, he's from 2 dog breeds that are notorious for having high cancer rates. So it's like, he basically told me, yeah, there was pretty much nothing you could have done. Even if you had detected this as early as possible, cancer treatment maybe would have brought him another year, and it would have been a very poor quality of life.
Baby.
Yeah. And it was a bitter pill to swallow. It was a very bitter pill to swallow to realize there was nothing I could have done for him. But at the same time, there was also, I guess, a truth in that it did make me relieved that I did do everything it was possible for me to do to try to save him.
Yeah.
And it's a tough truth you have to accept. And the pain was like losing a child practically, because I did everything I could to save him. But in the end, we did the most compassionate thing in putting him down when we had to. And if you can tell, my voice is cracking a little bit because, yeah, it still hurts to say it out loud.
No, you both,
but,
baby.
What'd you say,
baby.
Nate? Yeah, he was our baby.
And
but
baby too. Being hand pet.
Yeah.
Take this.
He was our sick
Take
baby,
this
though.
virtual head pet.
Yeah. But interestingly enough, on the topic of disease, and a more recent game that came out, rather a remaster of Oblivion, in the Elder Scrolls series, your character can actually get sick. Did you know about that, Nate? Yeah. in Oblivion, there's all sorts of disease, and in Skyrim, there's all sorts of diseases that you can contract, and they actually have a name for some of these diseases. Like, believe it or not, if you end up in close proximity to vampires and you're fighting vampires, you contract vampirism, but there's a technical name for it called porphyric hemophilia.
Okay.
Yeah, and also, if you're in close contact with werewolves in Skyrim, you can contract werewolfism, which is called lycanthropy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Are there like sort of made up diseases that you can think of?
No other than mine. No.
What's your made up disease?
Well, one I have like this is like it's an ALL. It's well, okay. So for the like race that normally has it, it's an alien disease. It's for them it's like common cold. It's nothing, but our immune system goes like haywire, and yeah, it's basically like drowning in your own snot.
Oof,
Yeah.
Bruce.
And I have one. Well, that one's slightly more parasitic, I guess, but it's still like it's still considered a disease. Well, actually, two. And one is where you control, and it's like it's for my magical universe. And one is when you like basically like a flower seed slash spore latches onto you, and like it starts like growing slowly, and at first it like looks actually like the one flower that you want to be in symbiosis with, especially if you have plant magic and whatever and you're a farmer and whatever. However, like yeah, it like starts growing like more inside of you, and yeah, it's like it starts kind of sucking you up, and
Like cordyceps in Last of Us, or the
not really.
parasites in Resident Evil 4.
Not really. It's like I don't know what they are. Well, I know that cordyceps is a fungi and this is a flower, so that's already different. And yeah, and then like
Well, it's
then
a
it like starts like concentrating like around your like neck area, the neck and like upper chest area. And this is like the basically like in the first you ever start to feel symptoms, because like it's like obviously kind of choking you, and
yeah.
and then it like does like its big move, and that is where just a flower bud just like bursts out of your skull. You.
Yeah, that's a bit like the clickers in Last of Us. I'm putting a picture of it in other pictures. But yeah, in Last of Us, if you get bit or you inhale the spores, you go through the first few stages, which is the first stage is Runner, which is where you're just basic zombie, and then Stalker, where you're starting to sprout some of these fungal blooms, and you're starting to go blind. But by the time you're a clicker, yeah, that happens, where the fungal bloom has completely burst out of your skull, and there's basically not much left of the frontal lobe. You're basically just lizard brain, and you use echolocation to try to find other people to bite.
I don't think I have a fungal disease yet, or at least I cannot remember. But I do have well, actually no, I made up like a plant that grows root bulbs, kind of like potatoes, and they like and there is a species of mold that like that likes that, so it like attacks the plant and well, specifically the roots, and mainly the root, root. What's the specific botanical term? Heck, potato.
I'm not sure.
Tuberous? Tuberous vegetable. I want to spot.
I'm sure you'll think of
Oh,
it, but
tubera. Yeah, tubers. Yeah, tuber. That's what
Oh,
they're called.
yeah.
And I also have like a crystal like disease, and it's in a similar vein. Luckily, this is like very like easily like stoppable, because like to actually like get fully rid of the crystals, like it's like very slow process, and it obviously can be painful at times, because like yeah, they usually also like dig in your like they get a bit into your bones. But yeah, like
Yeesh.
I mean, like, yeah, it's just like luckily, like it stops being a problem after a while, like like you still get like full mobility. But yeah, like it's best to stop it, because like yeah, those crystals would just like grow out of your like your main like magic paths. And yeah, but
Or just your body in general.
nah, not no, like I have like this thing where like how the magic like flows through like body of different like element users, and also like that. But yeah,
Ah.
it's like it's luckily this like disease, it's like easy to make this crystals like stop growing, and then you're just like you're free to send them down, polish them, and just have a cool. It's basically the coolest scar you can ever have.
I actually. Oh, I guess I should talk about another, well, non-hospitalization injury I have that my brother was actually jealous of. Can't see it on my streams because my ears are at a certain angle. But I have cauliflower ear. I might have to take a picture of both my ears so you can tell. But are you familiar with what cauliflower ear is, Nate?
So when it's like frazzled a bit.
So basically what happens, right, is if you get hit in the side of the head, or rather on your ear really hard, and it ruptures the cartilage inside, where it splits, basically it starts filling with fluid. Rather, the ear starts filling with
Okay,
fluid.
so
Now, you can avoid having cauliflower ear if you go get it drained, and get it drained quickly. Of course, the issue is that it is kind of costly to drain it because you have to go to an ENT specialist. And on top of this, it can be, the after scars can actually be more painful, and your ear is actually more at risk of further cauliflower ear because it becomes sensitive. And so you're kind of left with a risk assessment. It's like, okay, do you go get it drained and put your ear more at risk, or do you just leave it? Because if you leave it, then the fluid starts to actually be replaced by cartilage, and that's how your ear looks from now on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, my ears, after, did not look the same, before I was 18. After I was 18, my final year of wrestling, yeah, my ears have taken on a permanent shape than when I was a kid. Like, here, let me show you like some of the worst examples of cauliflower ear. Like,
also, I think, Stone, that even if your camera was at a different angle, your face is just so far from it, I don't think nobody would be able to see it anyways.
yeah. So, I might start. In fact, actually, I'm on my laptop right now. I'm gonna turn on my camera
Okay.
just for a
Gonna
bit,
see the silly.
and let me know if you can see it. Huh?
I'm gonna see the silly after it finishes loading. Okay.
Okay, you see
Yeah,
it?
but
You see me?
okay, the quality is to be desired, but
Yeah.
okay.
But you see how my ear is shaped?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my right ear, and this is my left ear. You see how differently they're shaped?
Which one is the normal one, the non-cauliflower?
Neither of them are normal. They both had cauliflower
okay.
ear. Yeah. So yeah, neither of my ears are normal. As you saw with the left ear, it's the center of the lobe. It is the least affected by cauliflower ear. It's only the center of the lobe that had a little lump, but it's still changed permanently. Whereas the with the right ear, yeah, as you saw, the entire outer lobe just swelled up, and yeah, it's shut apart. Now, let me example of some of the worst cauliflower ear, and I don't know which UFC fighter that is, but yeah, let me put it in other pictures. Come on. There we go. Okay. My laptop's starting to slow down a little bit because it's getting a little shell shocked, but I just put it in other pictures. My. That is the worst example of cauliflower ear I've ever seen. Have you seen this?
I mean, now I've seen it. Damn.
Yeah. His ear is practically swollen shut, practically. Don't get me wrong, there were dudes that like old coaches at wrestling camp when I was in high school. Oh my god, they had cauliflower ear that was practically like that. It was where their ears were practically shut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it can be a bit of a pain to deal with, but again, it's kind of like a battle scar. And my brother was actually impressed. He's like, "Damn, I kind of wanted that because it's kind of like a really cool battle scar."
Mm-hmm.
I guess on the talk of any scars, are there any scars that you have or want to talk about?
I have 3. One on
3?
my lower right back. That is the oldest one. It happened in Turkey on our either first or second vacation. I cannot remember. We in our hotel room there was like the shower stall, and it had a second tap for specifically to wash like sand off your feet. The tap was sharp, like like angled. It had like sharp corners. It was like square,
Mm-hmm.
And one day when I was just like rinsing off, I crouched down because I was I guess that tired. So yeah, just like gonna rest my legs a little, let the water run down. I'll be good. And when I was getting up, I must have like sliced my back a little. Well, a little more, I suppose. And I didn't even realize it until I was like toweling, and like having this little like sharp pinch in my back, and also noticing like a weird red on the towel, and it's just like, huh. So yeah, it just I guess just we cleaned it out, and yeah, it was just like a pretty shallow cut, so we just left it, and yeah, it's got over.
Yeah, I have one on my thumb, and I was trying to take a picture of it, but you can't really see it in certain lighting. But how it happened was in one of my jobs after high school, I was a salesman, and one of my sales jobs involved selling these food processors called the Chef's Rival. And they have these really razor sharp blades. And so in between parts of the demonstration of the product, you have to clean the blades off, and I misplaced where my thumb and the towel was, and it cut my thumb wide open in the middle of the demonstration. Now, people still brought the product because they were clearly very impressed with how sharp those blades were. But I finished that demonstration one-handed, so I do got to give myself props for that. But we are nearly at the 1 hour mark. Do you have any comic memes for me to voice,
Not
Nate?
today, no. But again, I have like 2 more scars. Aw.
Well, tell me about them. I'm gonna find some comic
Okay.
memes to voice myself.
Well, one is on
So
my
go ahead.
left shoulder, and it's a mystery scar. It also tends to disappear sometime. Well, no, okay, no, now I can see it. Yeah, I have no idea when I got my shoulder so much that it's scarred over. But yeah, it's a, or it's maybe no. If it was a stretch mark, it would look similar to my the ones on my stomach. So, or maybe it is a stretch mark, but who has stretch marks on their shoulders? So I'm pretty sure it's a scar, and again, zero idea where it's from. But hey, I get mystery bruises all the time. What's a mystery scar to me? The first scar is also it is on my left forearm. It's and it's from when I burnt myself on the on the oven, or well, I kinda in the oven. I was taking stuff out, and I put my hand a tad too my arm a tad too high, and hot metal skin, little pain, little bit of sizzling pain, and I was just like, ouch. Sadly, it's starting to fade, which sucks. Oh no.
Oh, when I was a kid, I made the mistake of testing how hot the hot water was in a water cooler, and as a little kid, I took an immediate attempted sip at it, and it spilled out onto my stomach, and I ended up with a tooth-shaped burn on my stomach.
Lol. Okay.
It was ended up shaped like a tooth, probably because the bulk of it splashed like on the spot and then dripped down, so it was shaped like a tooth.
That's kind of cute.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah. But your third scar before I read these comic memes?
Again, the mystery scar on my shoulder. As I said. Or and
Oh, was that the third one?
That's the second one. The third one is the burn scar.
Second one. Okay,
The
what's
burn
the third
scar
one?
that I just talked about.
Oh,
You
okay.
don't listen.
Right.
SMH.
I'm sorry, I was also looking
And
for
also
memes.
we
Okay,
we
so I put them
already
all
had
in
the third
memes.
one here.
Okay. So I have put all the memes in memes, and I'm going to read them out. Are you able to see them?
Of course I am.
Okay, so the first one is the fish one. So, finally, I've reached the top. I'm above everyone.
Bubble, 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 bubble.
Either he was that was while he was in the pot, or he was the first fish that was caught and thrown in the pot.
Also,
Sort of the
your
male-
and mine like imagined voices for the fish are so different.
How would you imagine this fish's voice?
Finally, I've reached the top. I'm above everyone.
Okay, so next is this chameleon one. So it's me, my crush. Look, we're both green. We have so much in common. It's like there's some truth behind this meme where it's like, yeah, you do kind of change some aspects about yourself to try to match your crush, believe it or not. But it's not, and whether it's temporary changes or permanent changes is really dependent on whether or not that person is meant for you. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And finally, this is a classic one. It's the that this is fine, dog. So I'm gonna do the dog's voice. This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are currently unfolding. That's okay. Things are going to be okay. That's his skin and face are melting. Ugh, ye gods. But we are now hitting that hour mark, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. It's a little toasty today, but it is gonna rain later, so
Wow.
I'm debating about whether
We've had like the opposite. Like it's kind of like it's overcast all day. It's kind of chilly. So yeah.
the temperature in Celsius there.
Okay, my watch shows 13 and my phone
13 Celsius, so double it. Celsius to Fahrenheit, so 13 Celsius? Oh, so it's 55 there? Wow. Wow, you guys have got it good. It's 86
Wait,
Fahrenheit
what?
here. I said you guys have got it good. It's 86 Fahrenheit here.
What do you mean we've
so...
got it good? It sucks, at least for me.
Well, I would kill for 55 right now.
Well, then come here.
Like mid, like low 60s. But we'll go ahead and close this out. Nate, go ahead and do the closer.
Goodbye, Pebbles across all platforms. This has been the Idiots Podcast, episode 70.
Yes.